The young swordsman stands at the edge of the bridge. The man he must fight is already on the other side. He has trained for this. He has the skill. He has the technique. And his hands, the hands that have cut 10,000 straw dummies without a single misplaced motion, will not stop shaking. He looks at them and understands for the first time in his life that the thing standing between him and what he has trained for is not the man across the bridge. It is the man holding the sword. Here is the truth no teacher of discipline wants to say out loud. Fear does not leave when you become strong enough. It does not leave when you become skilled enough. It does not leave when you have rehearsed enough, prepared enough, optimized your morning routine enough to finally feel ready. Fear leaves only one way, and the method is so simple, like so unglamorous, so entirely opposite to everything modern culture will tell you, that most men will spend their entire lives running from it while calling the running preparation. Miyamoto Musashi knew this at a depth almost no warrior of his era reached. He wrote it in a single line, hidden in the middle of his later work. Accept everything, expect nothing, meet what comes. 9 words. Not a strategy for managing fear, a method for dissolving it. Because fear, real fear, the kind that paralyzes the hands on the edge of the bridge, is not produced by the situation. It is produced by the gap between what the situation is and what you need the situation to be. The need for the outcome is the fear. Remove the need, not through indifference, not through suppression, but through genuine acceptance of what is. And the fear has nowhere left to live. This is the rule the dojos rarely teach, because a man who has understood it cannot be trained through fear, cannot be motivated through fear, cannot be moved through the single mechanism most human systems rely on. And that is why, 400 years after Musashi wrote it, the rule remains, in the oldest sense of the word, forbidden. The man who was afraid of his own training, his name was Koji, 22 years old, 11 years at his dojo. He was good, not extraordinary, but reliable in the way ordinary men mistake for mastery. His forms were precise, his stance was correct. His timing in controlled conditions was as clean as any student his master had ever taught. By every external measure, he was ready. The first duel of his life was scheduled for the end of that month. Not a combat to the death, a match against a student from a rival school, the kind of encounter that shapes a young swordsman's reputation for the rest of his career. He was expected to win. His master expected it. His fellow students expected it. His family, who had funded 11 years of training with money they did not have, expected it. And Koji was quietly, privately, completely terrified. He could not tell anyone, because admitting the fear in the culture he had been raised inside would have confirmed something he was not yet willing to confirm about himself. That despite 11 years of training, despite the techniques mastered and the forms perfected, something essential had not yet been built. He went to practice every morning. They performed at the level expected and returned to his sleeping mat every night, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing every possible way the upcoming encounter could go wrong. He lost weight, stopped sleeping deeply. His form, during the final 2 weeks, began, almost invisibly, to degrade. Not in ways anyone else noticed, in ways only he could feel. The particular quality of emotion that is being watched by the man making it, assessed by the man making it, judged in advance by the man making it, rather than simply made. His body was beginning to perform his technique rather than execute it. And perform technique, as every serious swordsman eventually learns, is a completely different thing than the technique itself. Brittle. It breaks under pressure, and pressure was exactly what was coming. 3 days before the match, an old man appeared at the dojo. Not a formal visitor. A traveler, thin, tired, with the worn quality of someone who had been walking roads for a long time. He asked for water. Koji's master gave it to him, and invited him, as was customary, to rest before continuing. The old man sat at the edge of the dojo floor and watched the students train. He did not speak. At some point his gaze settled on Koji, settled and did not move. Koji felt it, the way you feel a specific attention when it finds you in a crowded room. He tried to continue his form. He could not. His motion grew stiffer, more self-conscious. When the session ended, the old man stood, walked across the floor, stopped in front of Koji, and said, in the plainest voice Koji had ever heard from a stranger, "You are already losing." Koji froze. "I have not fought yet," he said carefully. "No, but you are already losing. I can see it in your shoulders, in your breath, in the way your hand found the hilt during your last form. I do not understand. You are fighting the match before it begins, in your head, for the past 2 weeks, and every rehearsal of it inside you has been a small defeat." The old man looked at him with something that was not quite pity and not quite kindness. "Walk with me. I am leaving in the morning, but there is time tonight to tell you one thing your master cannot tell you, because your master also does not know it." "Why would my master not know it?" "Because your master has spent his life training men to fight. No one ever taught him how to prepare them to lose, and until you understand how to prepare to lose..." He turned toward the door. You are not yet prepared to fight." He walked out into the evening street. Koji stood for a moment, suspended between the discipline that had structured his entire life and a question he had never been willing to ask. Then he followed, into the strange, quiet, unplanned conversation that would, 3 days later, become the reason he walked onto the bridge differently than any student of his school ever had. The preparation to lose. They walked along the river. The old man's pace was slow but steady. He did not speak for a long time. Eventually he stopped, looked at the water, and said, "Tell me what you are afraid of." "Losing?" "Losing what?" "The match." The old man waited. Koji heard the silence. Tried again. "The respect of my master, the honor of my school, my family's investment in me." Still the silence. He went deeper. "My idea of myself, who I have been telling myself I am." The old man nodded slowly. "Now we are closer. And what happens if you lose?" Koji opened his mouth and found that the answer was not there. Not because he could not imagine consequences. He could imagine them in devastating detail. But because he had never, in 11 years of training, been asked to look at them directly. His entire preparation had been organized around preventing loss, not around meeting it. He had been drilled in victory, rehearsed in success, taught the shape of what winning should look like. And for 11 years, the shape of losing had remained a blurred, looming, unexamined darkness at the edge of his vision. He feared it without knowing its face, and a fear whose face you have never seen is always larger than the thing itself. And the old man sat down on a flat stone at the river's edge. "The warrior who has accepted his own defeat cannot be defeated." Koji frowned. "That sounds like a riddle. It is the most practical instruction any swordsman will ever receive." He picked up a stone. "A man who is afraid to lose fights with half his attention, the other half is occupied with monitoring the fear, managing it, hiding it, performing composure over it. He cannot give his full presence to the encounter because his full presence is divided. Yes, a man who has accepted that he may lose, truly accepted, not resigned, not defeated in advance, but honestly met the possibility. That man fights with his full presence. He has nothing left to protect." He looked at Koji. "A man with his full presence available, regardless of his technique, is more dangerous than a man of superior skill fighting at half his attention." This is the thing the training rarely addresses, because the training is built around building capacity, techniques, forms, physical conditioning. All of this is real, all of this is necessary, and all of this, without one additional thing, produces a man who will, when the real test arrives, discover that his capacity was being held back by something nothing in his training had addressed: the refusal to accept the possibility of loss. Musashi wrote about the warrior's mind not as a state of confidence, not as the assured composure of a man who knows he will win. He wrote about it as the mind that has already passed through the gate of death, not a man who expects to die. A man who has met the possibility completely, sat with it, examined it, ceased to flinch from it, and found, on the other side of that meeting, something that had been inaccessible while he was still running from it: freedom to fight, completely, without the internal division the unmet fear creates. "How does a man accept his own defeat?" Koji asked. "Before the fight has even happened? Simply, you sit with it, honestly, not in the abstract, in the specific. Meaning, you close your eyes tonight before sleep, and you imagine losing. in detail, not as visualization of failure, but to meet the thing whose face you have never seen. He set the stone down. Imagine the match ending in your defeat. Imagine your master's expression. Imagine walking back to your school afterward. Imagine every consequence you have been afraid of, and let yourself feel each one completely, without flinching. He looked at Koji. Then ask yourself, could I survive this? The honest answer, for almost every man in almost every situation, is yes. The loss is survivable. The humiliation is survivable. The disappointment of the people who expected victory is survivable. What is not survivable, he said, is what you have been doing for the past 2 weeks. Running from a possibility you have never examined. Being controlled by a face you have never actually looked at. This is the myth that must break. The myth that avoiding the contemplation of failure produces a stronger fighter. It does not. It produces a weaker one. Because the avoided contemplation does not disappear. It goes underground, into the nervous system, into the muscles, into the subtle hesitation that lives inside every motion made by a man who has not, in some deep place, accepted what he is doing. The man who has contemplated his defeat walks forward lighter, not because he expects to lose, because he has made the loss a known country rather than an imagined one. And known countries are never as frightening as imagined ones. Always. Most men, the old man said, believe confidence is built by rehearsing victory, visualizing winning, imagining the moment of triumph. He shook his head slowly. This builds brittleness. The visualization creates an expectation, and when the reality of the encounter differs, even slightly, the mind is thrown. The shape it was running on is no longer present, and the man has no reliable response to the shape that is actually there. The confidence that matters is built differently, by contemplating loss honestly, sitting with the full cost of failure, and discovering through the sitting that the cost is bearable. He looked at the water. That discovery, not the visualization of victory, is what produces the swordsman who fights without fear. Koji walked back to the dojo that night. He did not train. He went directly to his sleeping mat, and for the first time in 2 weeks, he did not lie there rehearsing the fight. He lay there doing what the old man had told him to do, imagining the loss. In detail. It was not pleasant, but something happened somewhere in the middle of it, between imagining his master's expression and imagining the walk home, that he had not expected. The thing he had been running from began to have a face. Not a face he liked, not a face he welcomed, but a face. Specific, definite, finite. And the thing with a face was smaller than the thing without one. Not because the consequences had changed, because he had stopped imagining them as the undifferentiated darkness they had been while he was still avoiding them. He slept that night. For the first time in 2 weeks, deeply. But the deepest work had not yet happened. The old man had given him only the first layer. The second layer, the one that would actually change how Koji walked onto the bridge 3 days later, arrived the following morning. When the old man did something Koji had not expected, he stayed. And what he showed Koji in the 2 days before the match would rewrite everything Koji thought he knew about what fighting was actually for. What fighting is actually for. The old man was at the dojo before dawn. Koji found him sitting outside the gate, unmoving. "You stayed," Koji said. "I stayed." "Why?" "Because last night you only did half the work, the half that made the fear smaller. Today we do the other half." "The other half?" The old man looked at him. "The half that makes the fear irrelevant." They walked to the edge of the town. The old man stopped. "Last night you met the face of defeat. Today I want to ask you a different question." "What question?" "Why are you fighting?" Koji considered it. "Because the match is scheduled. Because my master expects it." The old man held up a hand. "Those are not reasons you are fighting. Those are reasons you cannot avoid fighting. Different thing." Koji paused. "Then I do not know." "That," said the old man, "is why you are afraid. A man fighting for the wrong reason, or for no reason he can articulate, is always afraid, because the wrong reason cannot sustain him in the encounter." He looked at Koji. "If you fight to win, you will fear losing, because winning is the entire point. If you fight to honor your school, you will fear disgracing it. If you fight to prove yourself, you will fear failing the proof. Each of these orients you towards something you can lose. And orientation towards something you can lose is the definition of fear. Then what is the right reason? One that cannot be lost in the encounter itself. I do not understand. Fight to meet what is in front of you. Fight to be fully present in the act. Fight to be the man you have trained to be, not because you will win, but because being that man is what the training was for. He paused. These reasons are independent of outcome. They can be fulfilled in victory or in defeat. The fight does not threaten them. It expresses them. This is the heart of the forbidden rule. And it is where the entire modern framework of achievement breaks down, because everything in our world is built around outcome as the point. You work for the promotion, study for the grade, train for the match, perform for the result. And inside this framework, fear is inevitable, because the outcome is always uncertain. And if the outcome is the point, the uncertainty is the fear. The only way out is to reframe what the act is actually for, not the outcome, the act itself. The man expressed through the act, the presence brought to the act. These things are entirely within the man's control, because they are the man. And when the act is the point, the outcome becomes a byproduct, a consequence, something that happens, but not the thing that determines whether the doing was worth the doing. This is what Musashi understood, said the old man. Why he could fight 60 duels without fear, not because he was indifferent to the result, because he was fighting for something the fight itself could not take from him. He was fighting to be a certain kind of man in a certain kind of moment. And that man existed whether he won or lost. He looked at Koji. Defeat could take his life. It could not take his presence in the act of fighting, and presence in the act was what he was actually there for. They sat on the edge of a field. The sun was coming up. 3 days from now you will walk onto that bridge. The other man will be there. Your master will be watching. Yes, and none of that is what the fight is for. Then what is it for? It is for you to be completely present in a single encounter, to bring every hour of 11 years to one moment of full, undivided attention, to meet what is in front of you without being divided against yourself. Whether you win or lose, if you are fully present, the fight has been successful. You have expressed what 11 years of training was for. The result is incidental. He looked at Koji. And if you lose while fully present, you have still succeeded, because being fully present is what the training actually built. Koji sat with this. Something shifted, not dramatically. The way shifts happen when a man's inner architecture is quietly rearranging itself. The fight was not the test. The fight was the expression. And something that is an expression cannot be failed, only diminished by an interior division that keeps the man from giving himself fully. Presence was what the training was for. The match was just where presence would be expressed. If he walked onto the bridge carrying that understanding, fully in his bones, then the fear would not have anywhere to live, because fear lived in the gap between needing the outcome and not controlling it. And there was no gap. And the thing he actually wanted, presence, full expression of 11 years, was entirely within his power to provide. The outcome was not his job. The presence was. The old man stood. I will leave before your match. I will not watch. You will not stay to see? Seeing the result is not my concern. You are not fighting for me to see. You are not fighting for anyone to see. You are fighting because the match was scheduled, and the presence you bring is yours alone. He looked at Koji for a long moment. Go back to your dojo. Train today as if today is the real thing, because today is the real thing. Tomorrow is the real thing. Every moment is the real thing. The encounter in 3 days is not more real than this. It is simply more visible. He turned. A warrior who understands this is never afraid, because he is never saving his presence for later. He walked away. Koji stood for a long moment in the field, watched the old man's figure grow smaller along the road, and then turned back toward the dojo, with 3 days to become the kind of man who could walk onto the bridge without fear. Not because the bridge would be safer, because he would be different. What he discovered on that bridge, and the specific moment in the fight that would prove whether the old man's teaching had actually taken root in him, that is where this story arrives at its final turn. The bridge. The morning of the match was gray. Koji walked to the bridge with his sword at his side. No rehearsal running in his head. No visualization of victory, no internal performance of confidence over a hidden terror. Just walking. His master walked beside him. The senior students walked behind. None of them spoke. They had noticed across the last 2 days that something in Koji had changed. They could not name it. But the young man walking to the bridge was not the same young man who had been quietly coming apart 2 days before. The other swordsman was already on the far side. A man named Tatsu, from the rival school, roughly Koji's age. Respected. He stood with his weight even, his attention already on Koji. Koji walked to his side of the bridge, stopped, and for a moment, one moment before the formal approach, he simply stood there. He noticed his hands. They were not shaking. This surprised him, not because he had expected fear, because he had expected the absence of fear to require more effort than it was currently requiring. It did not feel like anything. His hands were steady because his hands had nothing to protect. The thing fear guards is always the same thing, always. In every situation where fear appears, what it is protecting is the gap between what is and what the man needs to happen. Koji had closed the gap, not by making what would happen certain, by releasing the need for it to be any particular thing. He walked onto the bridge. Tatsu walked onto the bridge from the other side. They met in the middle, bowed, and the encounter began. What happened next, Koji would not be able to describe afterward. Not because it was mystical, because it was too present to be remembered. There is a quality of attention that cannot be held in memory. Memory requires a slight separation from the moment, a small observer standing beside the event. Koji did not have an observer. The observer had dissolved. What remained was simply the act. Steel moving, feet shifting, breath moving through chest and out. No commentary, no assessment, no interior monitoring. Just this. The fight lasted 40 seconds. Tatsu was good. Tatsu was, in pure technical terms, possibly Koji's equal or slightly his superior. It did not matter, because Koji was giving the fight something Tatsu was not giving it, his whole self, undivided, unprotected, unreserved, and a whole self, regardless of technical level, produces a quality of action that a divided self cannot match. Koji's blade found its line, not because he selected the line, because the line was there, and the man prepared to be there was there to meet it. Tatsu stepped back, bowed. The match was over. Koji had won. He noticed the winning with roughly the same quality of attention he might have given to the weather. A fact, not particularly relevant to him, because the winning was not what the fight had been for. The fight had been for him to be fully present in a single encounter for 40 seconds. And he had been. The winning was a consequence, a byproduct. It could have gone the other way. The answer to what the fight had been for would have been the same. His master walked onto the bridge, looked at Koji with an expression Koji had never seen on him in 11 years. Not pride, not celebration. Something quieter. Recognition. The recognition of a man who has just watched a student move past him into territory the master himself had not yet entered. "Who taught you this?" his master asked. "A traveler. He was here for 2 days." "What did he teach you?" Koji considered. "To prepare to lose, and to fight for something the fight cannot take." His master was quiet for a long moment, then bowed to Koji. Slightly, almost imperceptibly. The bow a teacher gives a student when the student has, on a particular morning, taught the teacher something. Now, your life. Not a bridge in feudal Japan, not a match scheduled by a school. Your life, which contains its own bridges. The conversation you have been postponing. The decision you have been rehearsing for weeks. The moment you can feel coming. The presentation, the confrontation, the act of asking for the thing you want. That has been generating the specific interior noise of a man running from a face he has never directly looked at. That face is there, waiting, patient. And the forbidden rule is available to you tonight. Here's the one thing. Before you sleep, sit and do 2 things. First, imagine the failure. Specifically, in detail. Walk through the full consequences of what you fear. Ask, could I survive this? The answer, almost always, is yes. The face seen directly becomes smaller than the face unseen. Then, ask the second question. What is this act actually for? Not, what outcome am I trying to produce? What is the act itself for? Who am I trying to be in the act? What presence am I bringing? What will be expressed through me in the doing of it? The outcome is someone else's concern, the universe's, the intersection of forces beyond your full control. The presence is yours, and a man whose object is the presence rather than the outcome cannot be paralyzed by the uncertainty of outcome. Because the uncertainty does not threaten what he is actually there for, the traveler was, at that hour, somewhere on a road between provinces, walking his own pace, carrying nothing, gone from the village before the match had begun. He would never know how the match ended. He had never cared, because the teaching had not been about the match. The teaching had been about the man walking onto the bridge, and what the teaching produced, whether that man walked off in victory or in defeat, was not the point. The point was that he walked on differently than he would have walked on 2 days before, which he had. The bridge is empty now. The sword is back in its scabbard. The gray sky has decided, finally, to clear. And the young man who walked onto the bridge afraid, and walked off not afraid, not because he had won, but because he had discovered something deeper than winning, continues home. Through the streets of an ordinary town, on an ordinary afternoon, carrying something ordinary men rarely carry, a mind that has already met the worst thing it could imagine, and found that the worst thing, seen directly, met honestly, prepared for without flinching, was never as large as the shadow it had been casting. If this loosened something in you, leave one word below.